Hey everybody, welcome to my kitchen. This is Mark with Killer Grub and Mark. Glad to see y'all here. Today we're gonna do something I've been, I guess I've been freaking promising I was gonna do this for a while, especially for some of my friends and some of the subscribers that have asked about this. And today I am going to be trimming a full packer brisket. So I was at Costco today and had no intention of picking up a brisket since I just did a 22 pounder 2 weeks ago. Anyway, I was going through Costco, had to pick up a couple things. You know how that goes, you know, you go in there to get something minor and you spend $300. Anyway, or more. Anyway, and I just happened to walk through the meat aisle because, you know, I just happen to do that just about every time I walk through there. And what did they have? Lo and behold, a USDA Prime whole packer brisket. And good God, I just can't control myself. So I bought the damn thing and said, well, I'll do a video trimming a brisket. And so here we go. We're going to trim up a full packer brisket. I'm going to show you guys how I do it. This is not competition trim or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a butcher. I learned how to do this by making a lot of mistakes. I think I really have only probably smoked maybe 20 briskets in my lifetime. And I'm here to tell you that the first 5 or 6 of those briskets were almost unedible. I never ever watched a YouTube video probably until about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. First time I ever watched a YouTube video. And so for many, many years, of course, I learned the old-fashioned way, and that was by screwing things up. And then I kind of figured out on my own how to make these things actually taste good and get tender and whatnot. And I mean, part of that was talking to other people that, you know, smoked meats on a regular basis, things like that, and I got tips and whatnot, and I finally got it figured out. The trimming part, I never really have actually had anybody show me anything about trimming a brisket. I've always kind of trimmed them the same way, except for one thing that I just recently kind of learned, and that was sometimes, and I don't even do it always, but there's this decal fat that runs in between the flat and the point that sometimes I cut it out of there, sometimes I don't. I generally don't really know until I get this thing open and get to trimming on it. So anyway, let's not waste any more time. Let's get this baby out of here and let's get the knife to it. Alright, so what we have here is we have a 15.77 pound full packer brisket, USDA Prime. Alright, so it should have some pretty nice marbling in that point. Got it for $3.29 a pound, so this thing cost a little over $51. So first things first, let's get some of these glovey things on. Alright, first thing, I generally speaking, when I cut these things open, I usually cut it from the back side. I try not to slice this up. Generally speaking, you're probably going to have maybe some cuts that you'll be able to see from when when the butcher cuts it up. This one I don't really see too much right off the bat, but it's all vacuum packed. But I'll just kind of get my knife in there, run it on down that direction, having a sharp knife really makes this job easier. Okay, so when I cut this bad boy open, I always try to be careful, you know, to keep all the juice, you know, inside the bag. Okay, and then just me personally, I will keep a garbage can real close by. All right, literally right there, garbage can. And then I'll keep some paper towels right here so that I can wipe up, you know, I usually wipe the brisket down just to get, you know, just that little bit of excess, you know, blood and juices, whatever, wiped up so it's not as slippery. Okay, I just don't want it to be all slippery. Okay, I will try to bring you guys down to a level here where you can see exactly what I'm doing. It's not necessary for y'all to be looking at my mug, right? All right, now you guys can kind of see what's going on here. All right, see all this stuff here, blah blah blah. All right, this fat right here, see how hard that is? This is hard, really hard fat. See how this is soft? I don't know if you can really see how squishy that is. And this is hard. This will not render. This fat you definitely want to get off of there, okay? This is actually that looks like that's a piece of bone. You know, the brisket comes from the chest, right? From right below the bottom of the neck, the chest, going down the chest and around to the side. That's where the brisket is cut from. Key for this is good knives. You want to have nice sharp knives, and always, you know, knife safety. Don't cut towards your hand or towards your body. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is I know this is going to come off. I know that's going to come off. I know this is going to come off. So I'm going to trim off this. All right. And then I'm going to work right into that. And I'm just going to try to, because we don't need a lot of fat on this side. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you don't really need to take off over here. But like this part, we don't really need. You can kind of see, if you look, you can pull on this and literally just kind of touch it down here with your knife, okay? And you can follow it down through there, all right? I'm more concerned right here of this right here. Okay, I wanted to get that piece off, all right? But I don't want to cut off too much at one time, all right? So have you a nice bowl close by, all right? So let's just start trimming into this, okay? I try not to just take a whole bunch of stuff off at one time. I don't need to go too far this direction, because I know I'm going to trim this end right here. See this? Right here, I don't know if you guys can see that. But see how this is kind of a different color kind of than this? They actually dip these in I think it's hot water before they vacuum pack them, before they vacuum seal it. There's a blood vessel right there. Anyway, so I'm gonna, all this loose stuff right here, I hope you can see. I'm just gonna kind of get that loose stuff off of there. This stuff here, I'm gonna cut into that a little bit. And if it's soft fat, you can leave it on there. It's because the soft fat is gonna render down, okay? This right here goes into the meat a little bit, so I'm gonna wait on that. Okay, but I do want to trim this stuff off right here. There is some silver skin. I don't know if you guys can really see it, but there is some silver skin on here, right in here. And if you're really worried about that, you can remove it. I am not that concerned. If it had a real big heavy layer, if it was, I mean not heavy layer, but if it was completely covered with silver skin, I would probably be more concerned and probably put a little bit more effort into trimming it off. But it's really, they really do a lot of times at the butcher shop remove quite a bit of the silver skin, depending on, you know, the butcher, of course. I'm not going to spend too much time trimming over here because I'm probably, this is actually pretty thick. A lot of times on the flat over here, this end will be so thin that you just don't want to leave it on there because it'll just burn. I don't know, I guess that's not the perfect term to use. See how I just slid the knife in there? See how I slid the knife underneath that? That's part of that silver skin. It's slippery as get out, but you can get it, okay? Don't worry about if you see me cutting off chunks of meat, because you're gonna. And I'll put them in the bowl. Those are all gonna end up, of course not all the fat, but all that meat. I have a grinder. I will grind up all that and make brisket burgers. Just trying to get this fat off here. You really don't need it. I really don't want a lot of fat on this side because I want to be the seasoning to be able to get in there, okay? Normally when I'm doing this, believe me, I usually don't go this slow. I really don't. I usually just get in here and just cut the heck out of it and get all this stuff off. I mean, we got almost 16 pounds of meat here, all right? Just shy, 15.77. So it's not a huge brisket. The last one I did was 22 pounds. And just so you have an idea, it started out as a 22-pound brisket. When I actually put it on the smoker, it was 15 pounds. I cut 7 pounds off of that brisket. But don't worry, all that meat's in my freezer, all vacuum sealed in my freezer. And believe me, it'll make excellent brisket burgers one day. I actually already did some of it. I packaged it up separately in packages so that I could make like 4 burgers at a time. And I just pull it out, run it through my grinder, and you can control how much fat you end up with in it. Just another little thing is and I'll show you what I'm going to do over here. I'm not going to do that yet. Is one of the things you're trying to accomplish is you're trying to make this, and I know this will sound silly, but you're trying to make this aerodynamic. All right, you're literally trying to make this brisket aerodynamic. Okay? Turn it around a little bit here. You guys can see a little bit better over here, right? What I'm doing. Just run the knife underneath that stuff right there. Just kind of run it underneath it. I don't know if it's right or wrong the way I'm doing it, but it's the way I do it. Like I said, I'm not a butcher. I'm not too worried about the ends here because those are going to get trimmed up. This stuff really doesn't need to go. I'm more concerned about areas like this. Because I'm going to trim this, and I'm going to trim from here probably over to here. And then all of this on this end is getting trimmed off. Alright, so I am not going to mess with this part anymore. Probably I'll take some off of this in a minute, but right now what I want to show you is what I'm going to do. I don't usually do it this way. I'm gonna do it this way so you guys can see what I'm doing, but I am going to cut off literally all the way down here, but I'm not going to just all the way down. I'll cut like here and then I'll cut, but anyway, I just want to trim this edge off. Literally, I'm just going to trim this edge. Okay? I kind of want to make I'm going to cut a line right to there and then just cut it all the way down. There's two, look at that. See that? Look at that. That'll make some beautiful burgers. Okay, I gotta flatten this out some more. But now you can see, I'm going to trim that some more right there. But now you can see in here how much fat you have on the fat cap, on the you know, the fat side. Okay? It's not too bad. I don't want that thickness there, but over here and over here it looks actually pretty good. So anyway, I'm going to keep trimming the rest of that off. All this sharp edge right here, I'm going to take that off. I'm actually going to use my other knife because I just like this knife better. I mean, I like the bony knife, I really do. But this knife right here has always been kind of my favorite knife. I'm just trying to make this smooth. All I'm trying to do is make this smooth. Okay? Smooth and aerodynamic. Crazy words when you're talking about trimming meat, I know, but that's really a goal. And this, you want the sides to be kind of flat and smooth, okay? So I got to take all the way down here. But I don't want to take off too much meat, right? Because we want to leave as much meat on there as possible, but we don't want all that stuff that's not gonna taste good and it's not gonna render down. So definitely I'm gonna cut I always like to keep this hand kind of dry. Definitely I'm gonna cut all the way around here, okay? I'm just not used to doing it this direction. So bear with me a second and you'll see. All right, so I'm going to take and I'm going to cut right here, okay? and then I'll show it to you. And then you'll see what I mean. Okay, look at that. Now you see, look at the marbling. Look at the marbling in this prime brisket. Look at that. Wow. Now, so you can see this grain is going this direction, right? This is the flat. The grain is all going this direction. That is going this direction. Okay? That's the separation between the flat and the point. The flat comes up over this way, and then the point comes around down to here. And that right there, that fat right there, I think, not a butcher, but I think that's what they call the decal fat that goes in there. We're gonna trim part of that out, right? This one's not too bad. You see how it's got this big, there's another deal right here. I think that's the decal fat that goes through there. All right, so now I've got this in trimmed pretty much the way I want it. This right here, probably take off some more of that right there, but we'll get to that. And I'm gonna definitely take off some more of this on this end, but I wanna be careful because that's our point meat. I don't wanna take off too much of that. So let's look at the fat side of this thing. All right, I'm definitely gonna take off some of this right here. So let's get to that piece. Get my hand dried off. All right, I'll spin it around here for you guys. All right, so remember I said I was going to take off part of this and that. So, because this right here, I can see where that's a little thicker than I want. Don't cut deep. All right. Just take thin cuts. Now see that? See that? That's down, that's about 1/4 inch-ish right there, and that's what we want. Okay? So we want about 1/4 inch because, you know, I'm doing this on a pellet grill. Okay? Pellet grills, heat, they make heat differently than, you know, an offset. Or what do they call those? Upright smokers or electric smokers. They make their heat differently. It comes from the bottom up. Mine comes from the center, then comes around, and then goes up and out. So, in an offset, it comes from over here, and just the heat is over here in the box, and it just flows through and up and out. They make heat differently. So I'm going to trim this. Okay, trim this just a little bit. I am just going to trim a little bit here. I'm not going to go crazy. This is that nice soft fat. This is that nice soft fat that will render down beautifully in the smoker, okay? I think I need to hit my boning knife with the stones, eh? Maybe. I think maybe I might need to. Man, that decal. This is the decal. See that decal? If you trim the decal out of inside the middle here, it flattens this out. It's kind of cool. It flattens it out. Got a little bit too much right through here. Bam. See that right there? That's that thick spot. Okay? But I don't want to make a big depression right here because, you know, you don't want juices to build up and make pools, because then you're not going to have bark. Okay. The trick to making it easier to trim a brisket: 1, sharp knife. 2, cold brisket. All right. You don't want it frozen, but you don't want it where it's been sitting out, you know, on the counter for an hour or something. Which brings you to another heated discussion that, you know, in the smoking community is, do you bring your brisket to room temperature before you put it on your smoker? I've heard that. I've heard it both ways. I've heard meat experts, I guess you could call them, say that you don't want it to be at room temperature because they say that the cold meat will accept the smoke more than room temperature meat. I have no idea. I'm not some kind of expert in that field. Other people swear by bringing it to room temperature. I've done it both ways. And both ways the brisket turned out fabulously. I mean, I've done it where I brought it to room temperature pretty much, left it out until it was warmed up to room temperature before I put it on my smoker. The only thing I noticed was that the meat actually got to temperature quicker. Honestly, the flavor was kind of the same. So I'm not going to debunk either one. Seriously. But in my opinion, they're both right. Because I did it both ways, and both ways it worked beautifully. This is hard fat right there. See all this? I'm gonna have to take all this right here off for sure. Right? Yeah. Okay, that's gotta go. This is probably I would have to say that this is probably one of the leanest briskets I've seen in a while. As far as, I mean, the last brisket I had, oh my God, there was probably 1.5 inches of fat on the fat side. This one just doesn't have that much. See, right, I've cut right through it, but it does, like this thing right here, where I made that little pocket, that's not a big deal. All that's gonna do is make sure that the seasoning soaks into the meat there. So that's not a bad thing. All right, now, this thin part right here, I'm gonna cut that off, okay? Because look how thick this is, how thick that is, how thick that is, and you come over here and it's literally, I mean, the entire fat in the meat is literally less than 1 inch thick, or right at 1 inch thick. So I'm gonna score myself a line. I'm gonna bring it around to here, about that, yep. and then cut that off. But see what I'm talking about? See how thin that is? By the time all the rest of this is cooked, that's going to be, that won't even be edible. Now you look at it on this side and you've got a nice thick layer of meat right there, which will cook up nicely. Okay, this end is nice and thick. I'm not going to cut that end off. A lot of times I'm gonna round this end off like this, just in the in the attempt of making it more aerodynamic. I'm going to cut that end off. Okay, but see, this is now all this side and all the way around here is pretty decent. Okay, like I said, I'm not a butcher, but I figured out over time what works for me. That's just about right. All right, that's just about right. We need to take this off. Now I'm going to be taking a bunch more off. That is so beautiful right there. But this end right here, all this stuff, yeah, I'm going to take a bunch of this off. Right here, okay? So, man, I don't want to really take much of this meat right here off because that's kind of nice, but I think that piece right on this end is probably not going to cook very well. So I'm going to cut that off because that will make great burgers. Look at that. That'll make great burgers. Okay, and I'm going to trim this down here on this side. And like I said, just making it more kind of aerodynamic. We're probably going to cut into this right here because that's that hard. I don't know what, I really don't know the real technical name for that stuff. If you do, let me know, because good Lord, I surely hope to learn from y'all, and much as I'd like to help you learn from me. See how this piece is, that stuff right there, I don't know if that really will taste good. Basically, in a nutshell, you're just trying to take the stuff off of here that's not going to taste good. Not going to be a nice bite. This right here, super hard fat. Can you see this right here? That is like super hard fat. And that's that fat that goes inside. Okay, this right here, that's the stuff, ugh. See, that's the stuff that I'm kind of iffy about cutting out because that's what goes in there. But I'm almost guaranteeing I'm going to get into that and cut it out. Okay? I'm not, granted, I don't want to cut off a lot of good meat, but we got plenty here, so, and I'll make burgers out of it, so I'm not worried about it, but, whoo doggy, that's some serious fat right there. Just like this is right here. That's what's this right here is what I'm talking about, what separates the point from the flat, right? Definitely going to cut off some of this right here. Just to make it nice and smooth. want to cut too much. This stuff is nice and soft. This is not. So I'm gonna try to do a little surgery here. That stuff. This stuff right here that I just cut off, that's the fat you want to grind up in burgers. Man, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna cut into here. Okay. So the way I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna kind of try to follow it down. What I do is try to get a line between where that meat ends and that fat begins, and try to follow it down. All right, so I'm going to probably trim this whole end right here off. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's kind of like a shelf right here. That's all kind of gotta go. It's gotta go. So let's get that stuff trimmed off. Here we go. Here we go. That'll make good burgers. Okay. So now we've got a nice smooth, flat side there, right? See that? Boom. All the way around. This side is in fairly good shape. You need to address this, of course. Okay. Like I said, I'm trying not to cut too awfully much off at one shot. Just kind of take, strips and strips and strips until you get it to where you like it. Okay. I said in the beginning of the video, I didn't know if I was going to get into that decal fat or not, but I am having a real hard time leaving this right here, in here. All right, it's really hard. It's not, when you slice this up, that is not going to be a nice bite of anything right there. That stuff is hard. So I'm going to start slicing into it a little bit here. You see what I'm doing? I'm just slicing down into it because I'm trying not to take off any more than I have to, right? Because we paid a lot for this meat, right? And we want to get as much of it smoked as possible, right? But at the same time, we don't want to cook something that's not going to taste good, okay? I'm definitely going to trim this stuff right here off. So let me go ahead and get that, because that'll make great burgers. Okay, I'm gonna cut down here. Okay, that actually looks pretty nice there. I'm still not happy with this thing here. Okay, I know it seems stupid, but I'm just not happy with the way that lays there. So I'm going to cut into it a little bit here. Like I said, little bits at a time. There, see? Nice thin little cuts. This stuff right here, same thing. Okay, that right there. Come on. All right. See, we're trying to make it aerodynamic, right? And you see this right here? That is not good. But we can kind of fix some of that by taking some of this out. I really am battling with, because this is not too bad. Most of your full packers will be like a big, huge, bulbous, you know, part right there. This is not too bad. But see, I'm not real happy with how that, see how that, there's like a valley right there. And I don't want juices to build up and lay in a certain area, because then it won't form a bark in that location, right? It'll just be wet. Okay, so what do? Do I trim this down or do I trim this down? Because I don't want to take too much fat off of here, because we're down to probably a 1/4 inch or maybe a little bit less. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of start right here, and I'm going to kind of cut up this way. I'm not taking a lot off. I'm just kind of shaving it, okay? Because I want to get that valley out of there. This valley right here. So now I'm going to come back this way. Kind of cut into that little bit of fat right there. See it? Okay. Look at it. See, I've almost gotten that little valley completely out of there by taking little bitty cuts at a time. But you can see that. Just kind of taking a real thin cut. I hope you understand what I'm talking about, where moisture, juices will just lay there. And then, you know, what we all like is that beautiful bark that gets formed on the outside of the brisket, right? And if you have juice, if you have moisture, juices that lay in a certain area without being able to roll off of that, then you're not going to get that bark, okay? But I think we're pretty close to being where we want to be. Okay. It looks fairly smooth. I got a little bit there, but that's okay. All right. Now back to this. I still want to take some of this off because that's that hard fat that's not going to render. Great in burgers, but it's not very good in a brisket, okay? Okay, get some of it out. This right here too. Because that's going right in there. Man. Okay, let's look at it. Okay, we're going to take a little bit more of this. Just a little. there. That's how smooth it is, now. I'm going to take a little bit of this. And then this right here. A bit more of this right there. I don't know. I'm tempted just to leave it exactly the way it is. Take just a bit right there. I'm tempted. I am tempted. This is what look at this. See the marbling in that? That is just freaking phenomenal. But that chunk of meat, I don't know. This right here is gonna kind of protect it a little bit, but I'm gonna take a little bit of this off right here. Okay. See? Okay, take a little bit more right there. Okay, I'm going to cut into this right here. This is that part that goes all the way through here. See it? See that? See it? This right here goes all the way through here. Right through here. And that's what separates that point from the flat. This is the flat. This is the point. And that piece of fat that runs through there like this is what separates it. And if you're going to separate the point, right, from this flat and cook them separately, that's what you want to do, is you want to cut and you want to follow that fat along there and cut all that. That's where you want to separate it. I'm not going to separate it. Okay? I'm leaving these two together. I'm going to cook them whole like this. And the reason I'm going to do that is because pellet grills, the heat comes from the bottom, right? All the heat's there in the bottom and the middle. And then the smoke comes around the left side, comes across the top of the meat, and then out the stack. So you want, because on a pellet grill, you put it fat side down, and you want the thick side towards where the heat's coming from, over here. So you cook it this way, right? So that point meat actually kind of protects the flat meat from overcooking. And then after you wrap it, you flip it around the other way, spin it 180 degrees so that you have even cooking, all right? Just kind of what you do with a pellet grill, as opposed to like an offset. Okay, so there, you want to trim it differently, whatever. All right, I'm going to take this right here off. Okay. That's burger meat. And I don't like this. I don't like how that is. So I'm probably going to trim this right here. Like I said, I'm not a butcher, obviously, but I know what works for me, okay? I know what, I just want to have an end result of good, nice slices with good bites, right? You're not just getting a big old mouthful of fat, right? And the reason I'm cutting this over here like that is because you want this to be kind of smooth and aerodynamic. Well, it's not. It goes up, boink, over, right? And that's because of the separation between the point and the flat, okay? But I don't want to remove all this point meat, you know, so I'm just trying to trim it a little bit here and there to try to smooth it out. There's plenty of flat meat here. Plenty. Okay, so I've got it to where it's getting a little bit smoother. I'm just not going to dig all this out of there. It's not so crazy bulbous that I'm concerned about it. And a lot of stuff, a lot of this that's left on here will render off, okay? All right, I'm gonna take this down. Because again, we want aerodynamics, right? Okay. It's kind of, I mean, for your average backyard smoker, I mean, it's kind of what you're really more concerned with is that it's an aerodynamic piece of meat and that it's not, you know, that the smoke's going to travel across it and hit all of it. It's going to travel across it and hit all of it, okay? That's kind of what you're really, really looking for. Okay? Okay, I think that's good. All right, so I'm gonna leave it alone. That is so beautiful right there. I love that. So I'm gonna leave it alone. That's it. All right. Next, we're gonna season it up, but that's another video. Okay. This will be one video trimming the brisket. Okay. And look at all this. This is what I cut off of it. Look at that. That bowl is full. But don't worry, that's all going to get food saver sealed and put in the freezer for burgers. Well, not all that, but a good percentage of it. And next, I'll make a video on how I go about seasoning a brisket, especially a prime brisket. Okay? So, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. So, thank you so much for watching me trim this brisket up. If you have any questions, comments, tell me what I did wrong. I'm always willing to learn. Let me know in the comments. Leave me a comment. If you like my videos, if you learn anything, they're informative in any way, shape, or form, you know, hit that like button over there in the bottom right corner and give it a like. You know, hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button over there in the bottom right corner. Give it a like. Leave me a comment. I enjoy the comments, good, bad, or ugly. I enjoy them. I really enjoy replying to all the comments. And look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Thank you so much.